Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. We'll be getting started in just a minute. All right, we have some people joining. We'll give everyone just another minute. All right, I think we can get started. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today's session, Kentucky's Transition from ACT to SAT, What Schools Need to Know. My name is Jordan Friedman. I'm a director here at MasteryPrep. We're excited to have you all join us. And to get started, for those who aren't familiar, MasteryPrep partners with schools and districts to help every student master the skills that matter for success on high stakes exams. Since 2013, we've provided a full suite of standards-aligned readiness solutions for SAT, ACT, and state-specific EOC assessments. Our programs equip teachers with actionable tools to boost performance and meet accountability goals. Presenting today will be Amy Hudson, Instructional Delivery Specialist here at MasteryPrep. Throughout the webinar, if you have any questions for Amy, please be sure to put those into the chat. We'll spend a few minutes answering questions at the end of the webinar. And now I'm excited to pass it off to Amy, who will introduce herself, and we'll get started.
Yes, hello. Thank you, Jordan. My name is Amy Hudson, and I'm so glad that you could join us today as we talk through an important change coming to Kentucky schools, the transition from ACT to the SAT as the state-funded college readiness assessment. So this shift brings new opportunities, new tools, and of course, some questions. You may be wondering what the test looks like, what the test covers, and how to support your students as they prepare to take the test. And that's exactly what today's session is designed to help with. As already mentioned, my name is Amy Hudson. I'm the Instructional Delivery Specialist with our Instruction Services team here at MasteryPrep, and I'll be your guide through this webinar today. To begin with, can anyone guess how many students took the SAT last year? If you have a guess, drop it in the chat. Just throw out a guess. Let's see if we can get in the ballpark. If anyone wants to throw a guess, how many students do you think took the SAT last year? Let's even get some guesses in there. Is that a 600,000 or a 60,000 there? I'm not sure. A million, we've got a million, a guess of a million. 30,000, 75,000, 600,000. We're getting there. You actually all need to go up. You need to go up a bit. The actual number was just over 2 million in 2025. So now to that number, we're going to add all of Kentucky's juniors to that total number. So then the next question is, on a scale of 1 to 5, how equipped do you feel to support students as they prepare to take the SAT? Go ahead and drop that number in the chat. 1, of course, being, oh yeah, I don't know much about the SAT at all. I never took it. I have no idea. All the way up to 5. Yeah, I'm completely an expert on the SAT. I should be leading this webinar. So let's see what we've got. I see lots of 2s and 1s, lots of 2s. Oh, there's a 3 jumping in there. 2.5, nice middle number. I like that. 1s and 2s and 3. Oh, we even got a 0. I didn't even put that on my scale, but hey, good. Well, wonderful. I hope by the end of the session that those numbers are going to creep up a notch. And so then you will feel better equipped to support those students after today's session. Thank you for sharing, everyone. So the agenda for today, we'll start a little bit with the why. We'll touch on some key reasons behind the state's decision. Then we'll break down what sets the SAT apart from the ACT, from test structure and timing to scoring and content focus, so you'll know exactly what's changing and how to prepare your students. Then we'll walk through the SAT format, testing options, and administration process. And we'll also discuss practical ways to help both educators and students feel confident about the new assessment with classroom-ready ideas. And finally, we'll show you how MasteryPrep resources can make this transition smooth, from skill-building materials to test day readiness programs. Our goal for today's session is to equip you with the knowledge, tools, and confidence to help your students succeed. As we have already mentioned, Kentucky has chosen to replace the ACT with the SAT as the state-funded spring assessment for high school juniors. So let's take a look at how and why this transition came about. Just as a little bit of background, the Kentucky Department of Education's contract with the ACT officially expired on June 30th. After reviewing options for statewide college readiness assessment, the Department of Education awarded a new 4-year contract to the College Board to administer the SAT as the state-funded spring test for those high school juniors. So now as Kentucky makes this transition to the SAT, there are several key benefits for schools and students statewide. First, and most notably, the state expects to see cost savings of up to $350,000 each year. That's a significant amount that allows more resources to be directed toward student support and classroom instruction. Next, the 6-week testing window provides schools with much more flexibility in scheduling their state testing day. This extended window helps minimize conflicts and allows schools to plan testing around other key academic events. Another advantage is that the College Board already administers AP testing in Kentucky schools. This means districts are already working with a familiar organization, which can often streamline communication, logistics, and data systems. Also, most public universities in Kentucky already consider SAT scores for admission, even if they are test optional. So this change keeps students well positioned for in-state college applications without limiting their opportunities, as well as offering options for many out-of-state schools. And finally, students still do have the option to take the ACT independently if they choose, giving them the flexibility to submit either score when applying to colleges. Overall, this new partnership offers some practical and strategic advantages, from cost savings and smoother logistics to broader college alignment and student choice. So now that we've looked at some of the key benefits this new partnership brings, let's shift our focus to the assessment themselves. Many of you are already familiar with the ACT, so it's helpful to see how the SAT compares, where the two assessments overlap, and where they differ. By understanding this, we'll be able to demystify the test, which will help reduce anxiety and increase confidence for your students. So in this section, we'll break down the key differences between the ACT and the SAT, including test structure, timing, and scoring. Now, you may or may not be aware that the ACT also underwent some changes for this year, evolving into the new enhanced ACT. So I'll be comparing the SAT to the test that the students would be taking if they were taking the enhanced ACT this year, if that makes sense. So those of you who are very familiar with the ACT, you might say, wait, these ACT numbers look different. And it's true, they are different from the tests that the students have been taking in the past. So keep that in mind as we walk through some of this information. So as we look through the different sections here between the two different tests, as you know, of course, that ACT had English, math, reading, and science. Science here is now in parentheses because science is now optional. And that writing portion that was there, also optional, still there. SAT sections, there's just two. There's a reading and writing section, and there's a math section. But those are broken down into 2 modules each, and I'll explain a little bit more about those modules as we go through the webinar today. So total questions. In the English, math, and reading portion, the ACT has 131 questions. Once you add in the science, that's 171 total questions. On the SAT, a total of 98 questions. Moving down to total testing time, the English, math, and reading portions take 125 minutes. Add in the science, bumps it up to 165 minutes. Add in the writing, and it's bumped up to 205 minutes. Whereas on the ACT, for both sections, all 4 modules, is 134 minutes. And so scoring, composite scoring on that ACT is that familiar 1 through 36 scale. SAT composite scoring is 400 to 1600 maximum. So as we go through this, you can notice that overall, what you'll notice is that you will see that there are, for the SAT in general, you have fewer questions and more time per question than overall on that ACT. And as we understand these distinctions, that will help teachers, counselors, and students feel confident navigating this transition. So now let's talk about college readiness benchmarks on the SAT. These benchmarks are scores that indicate a student is on track for success in first-year college courses. For the SAT, the benchmarks are 480 in that evidence-based reading and writing, 530 in math, and 1010 for the composite score. Meeting these benchmarks suggests that a student has a strong chance of earning a B or higher in entry-level college courses without requiring remedial instruction. It's important to remember that these scores are guidelines, not strict cutoffs. They help teachers and counselors identify areas where students may need extra support and guide preparation strategies in the classroom. Later in the webinar, we'll explore how MasteryPrep tools can help students reach or exceed these benchmarks, building both confidence and college readiness skills. On the SAT, one major advantage is the digital testing experience, which brings several key benefits for both students and for schools. First is enhanced security. The digital SAT uses secure lockdown mode, which prevents students from accessing other apps or content during the test. Combined with unique test content for each student, this approach helps maintain the integrity of the exam and ensures a fair testing environment. Next is efficiency and flexibility. Students take the test individually at their own pace, with flexible breaks built into the schedule. This allows schools to optimize testing logistics and help students manage their time and focus more effectively. And finally, faster scoring. With the digital SAT, students receive their scores in days rather than weeks. This rapid feedback allows educators and families to quickly understand performance, identify areas for improvement, and plan next steps for college readiness. Overall, the digital SAT offers a secure, efficient, and fast experience, improving both administration and the student testing experience. Now that we've covered the many benefits of the SAT, such as cost savings and flexible scheduling, to digital security and faster scoring, let's shift our focus to the test itself. Understanding the SAT's format and structure is key for both teachers and students. Knowing how the test is organized, how much time is allocated for each section, and what types of questions to expect will help schools plan instruction, guide practice sessions, and support students in performing their best on test day. The SAT, as we've already mentioned, is composed of 2 main sections, reading and writing and math. Each section is further divided into 2 equal modules. For reading and writing, each module has a time limit of 32 minutes and contains 27 questions. The math modules are 35 minutes and 22 questions each. Many of you have probably heard that the SAT is an adaptive test. Here's how that adaptive structure works. The first module in each section includes a mix of easy, medium, and hard questions. Based on a student's performance in that first module, The second module adapts, becoming slightly more or slightly less difficult. The student's section score is based on performance across all questions in both modules. This means students should do their best on every single question, since each one contributes to their overall score. Students can achieve the college and career readiness benchmarks regardless of whether they are routed to the lower or the higher difficulty second module. One thing you as teachers will want to emphasize for your students is the importance to focus early and do the very best they can on that first module. Sorry, as you can see on this graphic, the first module contains that blend of easy, medium, and difficult questions. Now, if a student doesn't meet a certain performance threshold on this module, then they are routed to that easier set of questions for the second module. Right here, that easier set of questions. So being routed to this module means that the student is still able to achieve those college and career readiness benchmarks, but their score will essentially top out at a number lower than the maximum score. If, however, a student does meet the performance threshold on that first module, then they'll be routed to that more difficult set of questions for the second module. And they'll be able to unlock those higher scores for that skill section. Therefore, the key takeaway here is to encourage every student to do their best on each question, but emphasize the importance of locking in on that first module. Then, rather than feeling frustrated if module two seems more difficult, they should take that as an indication that they did well on module one and carry that momentum forward through module number two. The adaptive module format does lend itself to certain advantages. During each module, students have full control over how they use their time. They can revisit previous questions. They can also preview upcoming questions in case, for instance, they would like to cherry pick their way through easier questions first. And they can go back and change answers within that module as long as time remains. Once time for a module runs out, they move on to the next one, and they can't return to the previous set of questions. The reading and writing module follows a general pattern of questions. Reading skill questions are presented first, while writing focus questions appear toward the end of the module. You normally draw a little line right about there. Prior to this section, all of those upper questions are reading skill focus, and those below the line are those writing focus questions. Of course, as mentioned, students have the ability to jump around to preview or revisit questions within the allotted time for each module. So let's take a closer look at the reading and writing section. This is one of the key differences between the SAT and the ACT test format. Each question in this section is based on its own short passage, typically between 25 to 150 words. Let me rephrase that for emphasis. One question per passage. Now that is a significant contrast to the multiple questions per long passage on the ACT. And it is a difference that most students view very favorably. The passages on the SAT cover a variety of topics, including classic literature, history and social studies, humanities, and even science. So that science bit is not going away if you're used to that from the ACT. Along the lines with the science there, some passages may utilize some graphics, such as tables and charts, which students will need to interpret as part of their answers. Overall, this section measures a student's ability to read, critically analyze information, and communicate effectively using both text and data. Now that we know the format of the reading and writing section, short passages, a variety of topics, occasionally graphics, let's look at the key skills the SAT is measuring. The evidence-based reading and writing section of the SAT is designed to measure how well students can read, analyze, and communicate effectively. It's divided into 4 key skill areas. The first is information and ideas. Students show they can understand what they read, identifying main ideas, analyzing arguments, and interpreting data from texts and graphics like tables and bar graphs. Next is craft and structure. This area focuses on how authors build meaning. Students interpret vocabulary in context, evaluate arguments, and connect ideas across passages. The third area is expression of ideas. This section asks students to revise passages to improve clarity and effectiveness, improving organization, tone, and focus to meet a specific purpose. And finally, standard English conventions. Students demonstrate their ability to edit text for grammar, sentence structure, and punctuation, and apply the core rules of written English accurately and effectively. Overall, this section measures a student's ability to read critically, think analytically, and write clearly, skills that are essential for success in college and beyond. Understanding these skill areas helps teachers guide instruction and students focus their practice on what matters most for success. Now that we've introduced the reading and writing section, its formats, topics, and key skills, let's move on to the math section. The math section includes a mix of question types, with approximately 75% multiple choice questions and 25% student-produced responses, open-ended responses that look something like this. Students enter their answers directly in the digital platform, so it's important to read each question carefully and input answers accurately. This mix of questions allows students to demonstrate both problem-solving skills and quantitative reasoning. The SAT math section measures how well students can use math to solve real-world math problems. It's divided into 4 main areas. First is algebra. These questions focus on linear relationships, solving equations, working with functions, systems, and inequalities. It's about understanding how quantities relate and change. Next is advanced math. Here, students move beyond linear equations into nonlinear functions and systems, and simplifying complex expressions. This section tests the algebraic foundations students need for higher level math. Then we have problem solving and data analysis. These questions connect math to everyday contexts, working with ratios, rates, percentages, and data. Students interpret graphs, analyze probability, and evaluate claims using statistics. Finally, geometry and trigonometry. This area covers shapes, lines, angles, and circles, as well as right-angle trigonometry and area or volume formulas. Overall, the SAT math section emphasizes reasoning, data analysis, and problem solving, giving students a chance to show how they think mathematically, not just what formulas they know. Speaking of formulas, before we leave the math section, let's see how students can make the most of the digital resources and aids built into the SAT. Students have access to several helpful resources. The first is a reference sheet with key formulas and constants that is accessible during the math portion of the test. Students, of course, should practice accessing and using the reference sheet prior to test day. Students will also have access to an embedded Desmos calculator for the entire math section. They will also be allowed approved handheld calculators. Graphing calculators are permitted as long as they do not have CAS or computer algebra system functionality. Also permitted are scientific and four-function calculators. The latter, however, are not recommended because they may not follow the correct order of operations. But of paramount importance, however, is that students are familiar with and practice with whichever calculator they plan to use when they take the SAT. And as students prepare for the digital SAT, it's essential to become familiar with the Blue Book testing application. Blue Book is used to administer the SAT and must be installed on a student's device before test day. Blue Book also contains full-length practice tests and includes several features to help students navigate the test efficiently in the digital environment. As mentioned, they're going to have that Desmos calculator for all math questions. They will also have the tool to help them mark for review to flag questions that they want to revisit. They have that option eliminator to narrow down those answer choices during their process of elimination. They'll have that testing timer to manage their pacing through the test. They will have highlights and notes to mark key information in passages or questions. There's also a question menu for quick navigation between questions. And then they also have Zoom and Line Reader to support accessibility and focus. Familiarizing themselves with Blue Book and practicing with its tools ahead of test day helps students feel comfortable, manage their time effectively, and take full advantage of the digital testing environment. Now that we've taken a good look at the structure and the content of the SAT, let's turn our attention to what really matters next: how teachers and students can best prepare for success on test day. Now, preparation doesn't have to mean starting from scratch. Much of what you as teachers are already doing in the classroom supports success on the SAT. Critical thinking, evidence-based reading, problem solving, and data analysis. The key is to connect those classroom skills to the types of questions students will see on the test. Small, consistent adjustments to classroom routines can build familiarity and confidence over time. Here are 6 practical ways to weave SAT-style thinking into what you're already doing. First, to use bell ringers for quick practice. Start each class with a short SAT-style question or reading passage. These quick warm-ups help students build comfort with the test's question formats, pacing, and reasoning skills, all in just a few minutes a day. Number 2 is to add challenge questions to your quizzes and tests. You can include 1 or 2 higher order or multi-step questions modeled after SAT items. This encourages students to stretch their critical thinking and analytical skills while keeping test preparation embedded in regular assessments. Now, if you want to step it up a notch from there, you can also tweak your entire test to reflect SAT rigor and format, and adjust the structure of all your classroom tests to mimic those SAT-style expectations. For example, using data interpretation questions in math or evidence-based reading in English. This helps students become familiar with the tone, complexity, and reasoning required on test day. Speaking of tests, number 3 is to utilize mini tests in your curriculum. Mini tests are short 5 to 7 question tests consisting of SAT practice questions. These mini tests are key for helping students apply their testing strategies and pacing techniques. Also key for question or test review is to always model and emphasize strong test-taking strategies, such as using process of elimination and never leaving a question blank. Mini tests are great for breaks between units or even as an option for sub-plans, so you can find ways to make that classroom time count. Now, moving on to number 4 is to open the book and add open book or reference-based questions. Allowing open book questions encourages students to focus on how to use information effectively, not just on memorization. This approach mirrors the analytical and evidence-based thinking the SAT rewards. Number 5 is to incorporate checkpoints for reflection and growth. Regularly pause to have students reflect on what strategies worked, where they struggled, and how they approached complex problems. These checkpoints help students develop metacognitive skills, which is a crucial part of performing well on the SAT. And number 6, set the tone by staying positive. Encourage students to approach the SAT with a positive, strategic mindset to increase buy-in. Encouraging positivity helps students stay confident, focused, and motivated, which can reduce anxiety and support stronger performance. While there are several simple ways to weave some test prep into your daily classroom activities, sometimes you need a little extra support or additional resources to truly maximize the impact of your preparation efforts. With a comprehensive suite of programs designed specifically for the SAT, MasteryPrep helps educators deliver effective, engaging practice without adding to their workload. So let's take a look at some of the key resources and supports available to help you and your students succeed with the SAT. One option is our professional development, which is a great way for teachers to learn practical strategies that they can immediately implement into their classrooms. Another is our ready-to-use curriculum that is built around scaffolded course modules that guide students step by step through the skills and strategies they need to succeed on the SAT. In addition, our online platform gives both students and educators powerful tools to make SAT prep more personalized and data-driven, which makes it easier to focus instruction on where it matters most. And now for our final offering, I will turn the time back over to Jordan.
Thank you, Amy, for sharing all those insights. As Amy mentioned, we have another offering we wanted to share, and that's our boot camps for the SAT. These are high impact, one-day workshops designed to improve student performance on the SAT. They're led by expert facilitators, and our sessions focused on test-taking strategies, time management skills, and essential content review. Schools use boot camps to energize students and build confidence in the weeks leading up to test day. Now is a great time to sign up for boot camps to prepare for spring testing season. Thank you, Erin, for sharing those links in the chat. You could follow those links for more information and to get started. I think now we can move on to some questions. One question that came in, Amy, do MasteryPrep boot camps need to focus on the entire SAT, or can they focus on a specific section or targeted group of students?
Oh, that is a great question. We have the flexibility to present just a portion of the SAT if we need to focus on just the reading and writing section or just the math section, we can do that. We have done that, especially for states who might use the SAT for some of their high school credit situations. And so we might say these students just need to get their English credit. Let's see if they can just do a boot camp on the reading and writing section, and we're happy to accommodate those requests. Just reach out and we can work through those logistics with you.
Great, thank you, Amy. And I think that's it in terms of questions. You can go to the next slide, please.
Okay.
Just a quick note that we'll also be sharing the webinar recording via email. That should be in your inboxes by tomorrow for easy access. In the meantime, feel free to visit our website, masteryprep.com, to learn more about our suite of offerings. And also be sure to check out our blog and follow us on LinkedIn for company updates. And that's a wrap. Thank you again, Amy. And thank you to everyone who joined today, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.